Welcome to Meet the Candidates. Welcome back on in. I'm Greg Anderson. It's nice to see you again. The next 30 minutes will bring you a fresh perspective on one person who is seeking your vote for selectman in this upcoming election. There is one seat open for the Board of Selectmen in this round of elections, and that seat is vacated upon the passing of Peter Bushman. Your time to vote is on May 10th, and we hope that you do show up. Voting is important, and of course being a contributor to our community is important as well. There are two names that are going to be on the ballot, Shane Hochter and my guest, Charles Holden, and I can call you Charlie with your permission.
Please
I appreciate it. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to, Charlie was saying this is, sitting in a TV studio and having a conversation just about yourself is not the most normal thing for anybody. So we're going to have a good conversation over the next 30 minutes. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I would like to serve the community on the Board of Selectmen. I'm the type of individual who likes to move the ball forward, and there are some interesting accomplishments that need to be made in favor of Sandwich as a whole.
Okay.
And that's what I'm interested in, helping the community, helping my neighbors move ahead.
You are from, and I said earlier, we're not going to hold it against you, but you're from New Jersey.
I am.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I was born and raised in Jersey City. My professional experience is with a heavy construction company. I retired as assistant controller. The company I worked for built roads and bridges, tunnels, water and waste treatment plants. We did some beach replenishment jobs and landfill jobs as well. In fact, it's an interesting story that they owned an ocean-going dredge for a number of years while I was in their employ.
Wow, interesting. How long have you been in Sandwich?
I've been in Sandwich since 2010. I've been a homeowner since 2010.
Okay, great. So if Charlie, you and I were standing in front of Cafe Chew, and we were taking an informal poll of people that were coming in and out about what issues were important to them. We would hear about the beaches. We would hear about our roads. We would hear about our taxes are too high. We would hear, about historic homes. There are, homes that are just not being fixed up and they're eyesores. There would be a whole plethora, unlike, much like any other community. But when you put yourself in that thought process of what are the topics, what are the issues that are most important, in your opinion, to Sandwich, give me a couple of those that you think are pressing.
Oh, the infrastructure in general and the beach. There needs to be an emphasis placed, and I think there has been, but ongoing negotiations with the Corps of Engineers and whomever else we have to contact with to move the replenishment process along. The downtown and our other neighborhoods are exposed now in dramatic fashion, and some improvement needs to be made.
So give me an example of let's unpack that a little bit more, because beaches, especially after these latest rounds of storms, it's a big issue. Unpack that a little bit. What specifically do you think needs to be done, or where would your focus be?
We need to replenish the sand that was unfortunately washed away, which was a temporary fix, and I think anybody will admit to that we needed a lot more sand. The sand had to have been better distributed. We need to have access to the sand that has washed into the marshlands, and we need to have access to the sand that's over at Scussett.
Yeah, that canal and the jetty
absolutely
really has done a number. You talked about you talked about infrastructure. Give me an example of what you think is of most importance to voters, residents.
I think that we're behind on the roads that they need to be improved and maintained in a more aggressive fashion. And the recent storm damage to the boardwalk is just sad to see.
Yeah. The boardwalk, keep it or not? Where do you land in that discussion?
Oh, I think it's a part of the community. I'd vote keep it every time.
Great. Okay. Good to know. Describe your leadership style. You're going to would be joining a group of selectmen who have known each other. You know, being a corporate guy, you understand when you join a team, you got to fit in some way. How do you see yourself from a leadership perspective blending in with an existing group as this?
You know, earlier in my life, I was a fire chief as well, and it was a 60-member department. I came in there 20 years prior to becoming chief, and I didn't know anybody there either. And I paid my dues. I became certified at accredited academies. I passed the chief's test. I hold a New Jersey State Fire Officer's certificate and an IMS 800 Incident Management certificate.
Wow.
I'm used to participating at a higher level, if I can say it that way.
Yeah, yeah. And now let's blend your experience, which is extensive, both from what you just said as well as me reviewing your bio. Here we are, a quirky little, funky little town. You know, we have our politics and we have our who do you know and how do we get things done. When you look at being, and I am as well. In fact, you have a longer standing in town than I do. I'm more of a wash ashore than you are. But when you look at the dynamics of how this town makes decisions, how decisions are made, where do you feel you can lend a voice to that process, a process that might be very ingrained in, we've always done it the way we've done it?
Well, the selectmen need to develop proposals that will be acceptable at the town meeting. And I know it's all about the tax rate, but you know, and we've got the highest tax rate in Barnstable County. I'm aware of all that. But our median home is $339,000. The average home is $392,000, and yet we have, other than the town of Barnstable itself, the highest population on Cape. So our tax per resident is like the third or fourth lowest on the Cape, even though our rate is the highest. And I think that more people need to be aware of that.
Why aren't people aware of that?
I found out through reading and through attending joint sessions of the various boards in town, and you know, it's out there. The information's out there.
Okay. Public safety.
Okay.
Public safety. Do you feel, you know, we are still reeling from the murder of Officer Sergeant. He was posthumously named Sergeant Sean Gannon. Safety of our officers, safety of our fire officials, EMT, first responders is important. That can speak to equipment. That can speak to budget. It can speak to a whole bunch of things. But whether we look at it under the umbrella of safety or just general resources, do we have enough resources for our first responders in the town of Sandwich, from your opinion?
It seems to me that we do,
okay.
and that perhaps on the fire side that there's some new equipment that could be obtained. The aerial device is old. The station downtown is old and exposed to the elements. You know that we need an upgrade in that area. But as far as the safety of the members, as we've discussed, I have experience in that. And the on the police side, that new headquarters will be a relief to a lot of the concerns.
Yeah.
And it seems that their manning is up to speed with the size of the community as it is on the fire side now, that the 8 new members will be blended into the mix. So I think we've done a pretty good job. The finishing touches have to be made, but I think their personnel feels safe, and I don't say that idly.
Sure.
I'm a graduate of the Citizens Police Academy.
I know you are, and you're an active
member.
alum.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. Yes, I am.
Let's dovetail that into a very hot topic from coast to coast, and that is school safety. You are on the finance committee, and as part of that, you are a liaison to the school committee and a special committee within the school committee.
Right, school
correct?
strategy. Yes.
So you have that experience of you have access, I should say, to the school committee, and you have experience there. But let's talk about public school safety for our students. To the parents of all of the kids who are out there watching this, how would you, from the selectman seat, address or speak to or be mindful of school safety?
There is a school safety committee that the police chief is on, the deputy fire chief is on, and representatives from each of the school facilities in town. They meet, they review the conditions, they review the physical conditions, as well as, how can I say this, the psychological perceptions of what's going on. And I think today everybody's happy that there's some fine tuning that needs to be done, but the schools are safe, and the electronic reporting is maintained and operative, and I think we're in good condition right now.
Okay. Let's talk about budget.
Okay.
How long have you been on FinCom?
This is my second budget season.
Okay, so tell me some of your Monday morning quarterbacks so far of your experience on FinCom, and then I want to talk a little bit more in detail about the budget. But what's your takeaway from being that close to the budget process and the finances of the town?
The part that, the aspect that impresses me most is how Mr. Dunham and his staff, Mr. Lapp, Ms. Spar, and the tax collector and the tax assessor, Mr. Charles and Mr. Jennings, build the budget, and it's an impressive effort, and to be that close every year to between our income and our as a town and the presumed expenses, because that side of it isn't always as clear as you'd like it to be. Mm-hmm. And I think they do a magnificent job in building the budget and explaining the highs, the hows and whys.
Mm-hmm. Where are we struggling when it comes to our budget? If we were to look forward into the next budget season,
we struggle in terms of increasing the ratables. That we always need additional commercial properties, and we need to get more commercial properties on to the rolls in order to relieve the homeowner. The school budget, while school is obviously necessary, it's our foundation, our basis going forward into the future. People struggle with the thought, though, with the concept that between 15 and 18% of the population soaks up 65% of the budget, and I know through school strategy committee that the schools are being remarketed, and the new principal at the high school, from my perspective, is doing a fine job in writing the ship of the curriculum.
Okay, well, that's important. You talked about commercial business. Now we're talking about increasing the revenue that the town can get by that focus. Yes, it would offset, by all estimations, it would offset if we have more commercial business. Why have we not, from your perspective, and what do we need to do to offset that tax burden?
I know the planning board is working closely with the Cape Cod Coalition. In fact, I heard, if I can call her, Christie speak yesterday. Mm-hmm. And some of the issue in Sandwich is the wastewater that investors in property would have to finance a huge septic system, and perhaps why should they if wastewater treatment is on the horizon? So they should both be thought of as a package, in my opinion.
But it's a chicken or the egg situation. The wastewater issue, and you have professional experience in this. How do we tackle that wastewater issue if that is a block for the commercial development?
Okay, we have to analyze as a community if the issue can be solved as an individual town cost effectively. Should we be partnering with neighboring communities in order to build one plant that'll service 2 or 3 communities? That the environment that I come from elsewhere, we had one plant that serviced 2 communities, and it worked out fine. Everybody was happy with the result, the cost-effective result. And then, of course, that there are public-private efforts out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure I'm a fan of that, but it needs to be analyzed, certainly, along with the other 2 options. That where is the best financial package?
On the interest of economic development, sounds like I'm going to kind of take a long way to get to my point here, but economic development includes tourism.
Yes.
We have, as we speak right now, we have a bridge that is causing a 5-hour backup from the Christmas tree shop to the other side of the bridge. Mm-hmm. It's significant. Because you have experience in this type of work, bridges, tunnels, that type of work. Let's talk a little bit about the bridges as, yes, it's an issue today, but it's going to be an issue in ongoing months and years as these bridges age out. Here we are, the first town over the bridge, and we're getting hammered by this. Social media is exploding with people irritated, myself included, of sitting for 2 hours from the BBC over to the bridge. What's your take on the bridge conditions, the Army Corps of Engineers as it relates to the work that needs to be done, how we need to, is it another bridge? Do we, take those bumper stickers of the tunnel and actually make a tunnel? I mean, I'm being facetious, but truly, what is your take on that bridge issue?
Let me say this first, that the bridges are, I agree with the Corps of Engineers that the bridges are safe structures, that they're not going to fall down anytime soon. Now, that being said, they're antiquated in terms of design, that they don't have breakdown lanes and they don't have a median area. They are unsafe in those perspectives. Today, the work that's being done from a bit of an outsider looking in, the permanent lane closing. Sure, the owner of the bridge saved money, but you're imposing all that additional traffic on the town. Mm-hmm. At the lane, I should only be closed at night when the bridge is being worked on, not during the day.
Yeah.
And as you come off the structures, that the traffic patterns, I know they've been studied, but the improvements haven't been implemented. And here we go again.
Yeah. So here we go again, is what we're all going to be experiencing in a year when other issues arise. What's the long-term goal? I mean, we have the chambers throughout the Cape and the Cape Chamber of Commerce with very vocal opinions about the impact of those bridges. And I mean, it is what it is. We live on the Cape. I mean, it's Cape Cod, and we have 2 bridges that get you on and off unless you fly in or swim or a boat. But it is a real issue, I would think, from the Board of Selectmen perspective, to say we got to have a voice in this, and we need to, have some opinion on this. How do we look forward? I mean, from your perspective, how do we look forward and say, okay, if I want to open a small business in Sandwich, I can't pull customers from the South Shore because everyone's going to be afraid of those bridges even more than they already are.
Right. I don't think a tunnel is a viable option. Let me just say that. But I would work with the representatives, with the DOT, with the Army Corps, to replace the bridges. That's the only solution, and to resolve the traffic patterns coming off as well as getting on, and it can be done.
It can be done. So you're frustrated. You're sitting in the car as well,
sure,
thinking, I feel like I know how this could get done, and the overnight pattern is probably a better routine. Yeah.
In the short term, yes.
Right. Do you recognize that how emotional this and other issues can get? And most important, from voters' perspective and from residents' perspective, and then how it gets brought out in social media, and people are just ranting and raving about it. And it does, in your mind, does that incite? Does that get people riled up when really, in fact, they just, need to do the research and.
If I can say that any type of progress is fueled by a passion, and I think we're seeing a lot of passion on that topic and a number of others, from the bridges to our roads to recreational facilities. We're seeing a lot of passion, and I think it's good. I think that's what moves the ball down the field, if I can say it that way.
Okay. Let's talk about another passion for some, not all, historic preservation. By full disclosure, I'm the vice chair of the Historical Commission in Sandwich. Lisa Hassler is the chair. And one of the items that is in the news, and it's now going to be up for vote within the town meeting, is the wing school. In part, the wing school. The Historical Commission has voted to at least keep the exterior of the 27 building, the facade of the 27 building. What happens inside, who it gets sold to, how it gets maintained. I mean, how it gets maintained is of importance, but there is a focus on preservation for the wing school's 27 building. How do you feel about that preservation effort?
Well, I have a sympathy for that, and much like you're saying, not to echo you, Greg, but much like you're saying, the facade, the facade of the 27 structure can be maintained, and that gym that can be the focus of from an owner's perspective as well as the community. I think it can be maintained as a viable asset from both perspectives.
So when you now expand on the property, clearly the playing fields are sacred.
Yes.
And I'm not asking, I'm kind of making my opinion on that, but you would agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. The rest of the structure, when we're all sitting there thinking, tear it all down, price tag. Keep part of it, there's a price tag. There's a lot to be discussed. When you talk about the greater property, where are you as it relates, what's your mindset as it relates to what you envision for the wing school property?
I envision anything from senior citizens to middle income housing in general. It should be privately developed, though. It can be sold, not to echo the views of others, but it can be sold for $1 as long as certain of the criteria are met. The structures come back on the tax rolls, and the town of Sandwich makes out.
Other historic preservation issues. One topic that is getting some traction right now is the discussion of demolition by neglect. Now, I'm not expecting you to talk to, it in great detail, but we do have these homes that are throughout the town that are just falling apart, and they are right in the middle of our village, or they are in the surrounding areas. Many times they are historic in nature. Any thoughts as it relates to historic preservation of that extreme?
Oh, I think historic preservation, and I'm not pandering to you, it's very important, particularly in the downtown area. It makes Sandwich what it is, and it's in part our low-key tourist attraction. People just like to walk around and see Sandwich, which I think is a great thing. These dilapidated, if you will, that boathouse that's on the pond. There's a building that's for sale now, and another building up the road from Town Hall that I think the owner is in impasse with the historical commission on how to that's the other type of thing that frustrates me, though, that sometimes a compromise is the best thing. Mm-hmm. That is the standard that needs to be met unreasonable. And we know what it's supposed to look like, but does it have to be original materials? Does it have to be an exact original design that the Historic Commission can still rule on it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the interest of, we've talked about several issues. We have a couple more minutes. We've talked about many issues, and once you become selectman, your phone number is out there. They know where you live. They're going to be knocking on your, not literally, but they're going to be coming to you and saying, Charlie, you know what? I'm really concerned about this issue. There is a temperament that would need to be displayed by anybody that is in that position. I'm not an elected official, so I am much more of a private citizen in this context, but you would not be. And that's a game changer for some. Your context, your comments may be taken out of context. An opinion that you raise in a meeting may get misconstrued. Describe your temperament as it relates to kind of, you say moving on up to the next level. From FinCom, you got a little bit of that visibility, but the Board of Selectmen, you can take it on the chin. What's your temperament as it relates to being in that role?
Well, you could take it on the chin as a fire chief too, and as a member of a zoning board as well. I think that I like to communicate with people. I like to exchange opinions with people. I like it to be in a professional manner, but if I didn't want to expose myself to somebody else's opinion, I wouldn't be offering myself into the service. I take it out of context. There's nothing you can do about that. Hopefully that somebody will confront you with it, and you can explain yourself completely.
Yeah.
But what's mentioned in the media, that you've got no control over it, and it's part of public life.
Yeah. Charlie, tell me about what do you do for fun? Who is Charlie? You're going to walk out of here, and there's something that you're going to be thinking, I'd like to do that today. What is it?
Oh, my wife and I love to walk on the beach. We play some par 3 golf that hopefully it'll be springtime soon. I play softball, the senior softball league, which will be starting up in the middle of May sometime, and I look forward to the games and the camaraderie and et cetera. Those are the things I look forward to. By September, we'll have 4 grandchildren. And we like to have the grandchildren up, and it's to knock around sandwich. It's great.
So you're saying you will have 4?
We'll have 4, 3 today, and
one on the way,
and one on the way, and we have a grand dog too. He's a black lab. He comes up from New Jersey, Greg, but his name is Boston.
Oh, wow. So you have a black lab grand dog,
yes,
from New Jersey whose name is Boston.
Yes.
I think I like that. I'm not quite sure, but that's great. That is great. Any last comments that you want to say? You got an opportunity. This is merely one, but any last comments?
No, I just hope for the opportunity to serve, and I just like to emphasize that. I'm running for an empty seat. I'm not running against anyone per se. It's a positive perspective I have, and I hope to maintain it going forward.
Well, you've done a nice job in explaining who you are, and I think that's this venue is a discussion. As if we were sitting over at Cafe Chew outside having a cup of coffee and learning. So I'm hoping that this is also an interesting discussion for people. Charlie, thank you very much. I want to thank this program's executive producer, Paula Johnson, and her whole team, who worked so hard at putting these types of programs together for Sandwich Community Television. Remember, you will vote on May 10th, and I say will because if you don't vote, I'm going to have to come after you. It's important to vote. It's important to get your voice out there, and town meetings as well are important. So we believe in bringing you thoughtful discussion and observations to you, and we thank you for your time. I'm Greg Anderson. We'll see you next time. Nice job.
Thank you very much.